Hi, everyone. So we wanted to take this time to have you meet with Tom Valancourt, who is our pastry chef at Jacques Fine European Pastry located in Suncook, New Hampshire. And we wanted to take a few minutes to kind of talk to you as you're wedding planning about what, we have a great partnership with Jacques with our cakes and desserts. And so want to take this opportunity to kind of provide you some answers that you might have questions for as you're planning your wedding. And so I want to introduce today Tom Valancourt. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tutu. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we've had a great relationship these past couple of years, and I just want to review some of the questions that we most get often, or you might get often. And so sharing it as part of this video might also help our couples as they're planning their wedding, make it a little easier. So as you know, if they're having their wedding here at Dell-Lea, when should couples reach out to you to do a cake tasting?
Yeah, it's never too early. If people are considering trying to come in and they still have quite some time, they are more than welcome. But a good general time frame would be roughly 3 to 6 months ahead of the wedding.
Excellent. So what about the cake toppers, and how do they handle flowers and cake toppers if they want to put a cake topper on their cake?
Yep. Some brides do choose to go forward with using cake toppers, and we do request that we have them here in hand at the store before the wedding so that we can properly support them on the cake. But also sometimes when they want flowers on the cake, I need to put the topper on first to have space left over afterward for flowers with it if necessary. So we do ask to have those in hand before the wedding rather than at the wedding. And then flowers, we include fresh or icing flowers in the package. So we would actually take care of calling a florist to find out the varieties of flowers that are used at the reception so that we can order in similar kinds so they match for the cake. So we will take care of the flower aspect. You just have to decide where on the cake you want them placed.
All right. So at the consultation, do you talk about designs of the cake and what it's going to look like and what they're looking to do?
We do, yep. An appointment here at the shop would be inclusive cake tasting, but also a consultation for the design, again, all-encompassing for the cake itself. We include 40 different designs within the package already. And again, as I touched on, fresh flowers or icing flowers are part of that as well.
Great. And how long are your consultations or tasting take?
We schedule an hour's time to meet with somebody. It doesn't always take that long. Depends on how quickly brides and grooms can make decisions. However, it could take longer than that if necessary. I don't expect everybody to know what they want immediately when they come in. So if we at least get the basis of everything started, and we can at least let them know what is included and start the process, they can always get back in touch with us later if they have more finalizations to do afterward.
Yeah, I would recommend to couples that there's a lot of cake and a lot of frosting, right? So there's a to be had by everybody. Get a little bit of sugar high before you leave. What could you tell us a bit more if you have guests who have certain allergies, and how do you approach those?
Yep. So unfortunately, we're not, a nut-free establishment. So I always have to tell people that we do try our best. We don't put nut products in our cake flavor or filling flavors that aren't nut flavored themselves. And we do take precautions as necessary if people are requesting something to be as quote unquote nut-free as we can make it. Again, legally, we're not a nut-free establishment. So that's, up to the discretion of everybody who needs to eat it. But we have done many weddings before where we are catering to that need, and we've never had any issues arise. So, we are trying our best to avert any situation at that point.
Right. So the most common allergies I typically hear is the gluten-free allergies, and then also like the nut allergies. My understanding that there is almond flours that you use on the pastries. Could you, so how would you advise them to do that?
Yep. So some of our French pastries that we make will have almond flour in them. So yes, that would touch on the nut allergy portion of that. But there are a few of them that are nut-free. As far as gluten intolerance, we do have some cake flavors that brides and grooms can upgrade to gluten-free options if necessary, or even just purchase small cupcakes separately. But then I do make cookies as well, and one of our cookie varieties is a gluten-free and nut-free product as well. So
excellent. So it sounds like you have, it sounds like you have a lot of varieties for the allergies. Fantastic. So speaking of some flavors, how many flavors of cake and frosting do you have?
If you count them all out, there's 12 different cake flavors and 28 different fillings. But with that being said, you can make combinations of cake and filling options because there are more than one flavor of filling that you could do within a slice of cake itself. So that makes a lot of options for combinations at that point. So that's why coming in for cake tasting is usually helpful, you know, to try to narrow things down on what you like.
Excellent. What are your favorite flavors?
I like almond cake with amaretto and chocolate truffle. That's a nice, kind of different one, if you will.
Yeah.
But a lot of people tend to like the white cake with raspberry jam and chocolate truffle. That's a big crowd pleaser.
Well, it doesn't sound like I would say no to either. So it sounds all your cakes, and so they're all amazing. It's absolutely. And then what are your sort of like what are some things that you know, as they're going through and figuring out how big these cakes should be? Do you have something that you already have figured out as to if it's in a 90-person wedding or if it's a 150-person wedding? Like what sizes are they, and how do you figure that out?
Yeah, you know, as part of the package, we are providing a cake slice per person based on the final guest count attending the wedding. And yes, there are already, you know, sizes that I've got here in store to show you as far as what would be included to cover those yields. So, you know, we can go over that at that consultation to give brides and grooms a visual of what they would be looking at for what is sitting in the room. But with that being said, sometimes people want smaller cakes and supplement with other items as well, and that can be discussed. You know, we can include that sort of dessert bar or cupcakes. You know, that's certainly doable within the package as well.
Mm-hmm. And how do you allot for servings for cupcakes and desserts and such?
Well, we have 3 different sizes of cupcakes, and our medium size is a dessert serving, if you will. So we could do one of those per guest. And then we also have pastries, which are a little bit smaller. It usually equates to roughly 2 pastries per person, give or take. You know, they are all different options and whatnot. And we can go over those, you know, if necessary, with the brides and grooms here in store if they're interested in those as well. But usually we say, you know, 1 per person per se, as far as the cake or cupcake slice, and roughly 2 on the pastries, because again, they're a little bit smaller.
Excellent, excellent. And what are some of their biggest things that you would advise couples as they're going out and looking for dessert for their wedding?
A lot of times people nowadays are looking at Pinterest and getting thoughts on what can be done, if you will. Sometimes it's nice to know what type of display you're looking at or hoping for before coming in, because that can help us out with recommending certain things here or there. You might need to get pedestals or platforms or trays or things like that. But you know, a lot of times we just see people coming in already kind of knowing what they're looking at that point, you know. So there's a lot of options. Usually coming in and seeing things here in store is helpful, you know, as well, because it's hard to know without getting the full spectrum of what's available from us as well.
Yeah. So would it be helpful then for couples to bring in pictures or Pinterest photos for you, and then to kind of help kind of customize their ideas a little bit?
Yeah, a lot of times we're customizing a lot more on the design of the cake, of course, and people have actually already been bringing in things such as photos and whatnot for a couple of years now, ever since Pinterest got pretty big. But and that is very helpful for us as well, you know, because everybody has their own mindset on where they want the aesthetic of the wedding to be, and that includes what the cake looks like. So nowadays it's more helpful for us to understand where brides and grooms are coming from rather than just kind of trying to describe things. Photos are obviously a very easy way for us to understand. So that is definitely helpful if they've got it. It's not necessary, but definitely bring stuff like that along to a consultation if you have it.
Excellent. And so it's their day of their wedding. What is your advice in regards to when the cake and how the cake should be served?
Well, we deliver with refrigeration. So the cake and desserts are all cold up until the point where we get to Dell-Lea. And we will set things out. Wedding cakes actually need to sit out a good couple of hours during your event because the center of the cake takes quite a long time to come to room temperature. And our product is actually meant to be eaten at room temperature versus cold. We recommend that as it has better flavor and texture that way. So the cake does need to sit out for quite some time. Smaller desserts like the cupcakes and the pastries, you're very gracious, and your staff, you guys tend to put that out a little bit later for a few reasons. One, so it does not sit at room temperature for too long. But second reason could be for maybe to deter some people from eating things like that ahead of the meal, and appetizers that might be served, because it is usually a little bit enticing, you know. So a couple of hours, though, at room temperature is definitely necessary for larger cakes, for sure. And then maybe an hour or so for smaller items like the pastries and the cupcakes.
Excellent. So obviously they've had their wedding, they've cut their cake. Usually a lot of couples will save the cake topper and to bring that home. So what are your thoughts and advice as to how to take care of that? And is it good to eat after a year for your 1-year anniversary? So tell us about that.
Yeah, so it is tradition that you'd save the top tier, and it is in fact still good provided you are packaging it properly. So when we are delivering, it is part of our procedure to bring a box provided to Dell-Lea, so that way they will pack up the top tier for you to go home with. And make sure, if you had any fresh flowers, open the box up at home and make sure those are removed from the cake, and close the box back up. And what you'd want to do is wrap that box in saran wrap a bunch of times. Extra layers of the plastic film will protect the cake in the freezer over the year. The box is there for stability, but the plastic wrap will help to prevent freezer burn. So then you freeze it for the year, and then a year later, you want to move that to the refrigerator for at least 24 hours to slowly bring it back up to room temperature. And just as I said, we would want the cake to sit at room temperature for some time. You'd want to take that out of the fridge for a minimum of an hour before you plan on eating it again, so that way it's eaten at room temperature for best taste and texture. So.
That's great advice. That's good to know. And I know that that I'll eat cake a year from now, so I have no question. Well, thank you, Tom, for taking the time to kind of sit with us and kind of answer the questions that are frequently asked, and to kind of make the process really easy. So once you've basically booked your venue here at Dell-Lea, you can then contact Tom to set up a consultation, either 3 to 6 months before. Or I think you might even take it a little sooner if you have some ideas already.
Yep.
Having Pinterest ideas and pictures to help kind of visualize what your cake is going to look like. But definitely go in. I encourage everybody to go in for the cake tasting, because it is a lot of fun, and you kind of get to taste the combinations, things that you may never, I've thought about. And I know that one of my favorite cakes from you is the carrot cake. So I'm always excited to order those. Well, thank you again. If there's any questions, what's the great way to get a hold of you?
The shop's phone number, 603-485-4035. You can always call. There's a team of us here that any one of us would sit down with brides and grooms. But then our website, jacquespastries.com. Through there's actually an online booking platform for appointments as well, if that's more convenient. And then the email address is on there as well, but it's jacquespastries@icloud.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for your expertise and your care and what wonderful work that you put into your cakes. So couples, again, if you have any questions, please contact either of us or directly both of us, and we'd love to be able to help out, especially when it comes to cakes. And I hope you enjoyed this quick tidbit about Jacques and Dell-Lea. Thank you very much for joining us. So hope you guys will join us again. Thanks.